Still a ton of stuff to get to. Big Sil's National Football Show. Please hit the like button. You know, let me throw this at you here and tell me if you think I'm wrong or right here. So Chris Jones is holding out with the Chiefs. He wants $30 million a year, a defensive tackle, who's probably right there with Aaron Donald. I'm not going to say he's better because I got to give Donald the benefit of the doubt. Is it me or is it these quarterbacks, once they get their money, they shut their faces and they don't stick up for the players on their team publicly? They never come out and they never back the players. Nobody came out to defend the running backs that was a quarterback. These guys never come out and they never do it. They almost become like corporate shills now for the organization. They don't step up for the teammates because they get the money. Do quarterbacks even hold out anymore? I mean, it's like the only position that they don't hold out. And to Yale's point, don't bite the hand that feeds you. So then you really don't have my player's best interest if you're my teammate. You have your own best interest. Okay, well, don't bullshit me and try to pretend you do then, because you don't. Okay. Like, you think Jalen Hurts is going to have Landon Dickerson's back? When Landon Dickerson's contract comes up and he wants $25 million or $20 million? No. Why would he? I'm making $51 million. Why would I support him? I got to worry about my guy, which is my wallet. I don't believe there's anything wrong with that. But I don't like when people try to portray me as some sort of great teammate. A great teammate has your back no matter what. Money, family, being arrested, being falsely accused, going to jail. Like when I look at Devontae Smith, I see a true teammate. When I look at Patrick Mahomes, I see kind of a teammate. See, these quarterbacks are on different islands now. Okay? And once again, and to Yale's point, I think organizations separate the quarterbacks from the rest of the team by design. When you pay someone that kind of money, you got to see it at the board of directors table. Chris Jones doesn't have, and you know, if you look at, and what they're doing also in Kansas City is they're using Mahomes. We can't pay you more than, and make you the highest paid player at your position. Our guy's not even. Why would we pay you like that? I don't give a shit about him. Well, we're not paying you. That's what they did to Brady. That's why people had an ass with Brady. And that's why Brady left him in the wing and left him in the win. Because all the years that Brady had taken those pay cuts, for them not to retool the team, Brady was right in the end, wasn't he? Because look at it. There's no superstar offensive talent on that team anymore. I'm not sure there ever was. And when they weren't retooling it, Brady says, I'm out of here. This kind of goes down the line of what we were talking about when we opened the show with Joel Embiid. It's time for you to leave, son. Philadelphia is never going to put the pieces around you that you need. Get out while you can, while you're still in your prime. Don't let Philly waste your prime. And I shouldn't say Philly. I mean the Sixers. Don't let the Sixers waste your prime. They're wasting your prime. They're never going to win building a team around you. They're just never going to do it. Why would you stay? It's like LeBron staying in Cleveland the first time. LeBron had every right to leave that thing. For him to take that NBA Cleveland Cavalier team to the NBA Finals, they got crushed in the finals, but that team had no right to be in the playoffs. And Dan Gilbert was never going to build a basketball team around him until he left. Why should Joel Embiid stay in Philly? Why? Because it's the right thing? No, it's not. No, it's not. Organizations today, not every one of them want to win. Here, I'll give you a great example. I think the Jets now all of a sudden want to win. I don't think they always wanted to win. I think the Cowboys are enamored with being the Dallas Cowboys. I don't think winning a Super Bowl is important to them. I think they'd like to have it Because you know what here, by winning a Super Bowl in Philadelphia is revered. Winning a Super Bowl in Dallas is like buying a Rolex watch to the players. It's kind of nice. Looks good on us. It enhances our brand. When they talk Super Bowls in Dallas, they talk about what it can do to the brand of the team. When they win a Super Bowl in Philadelphia, they're talking about what it means to the legacy of the franchise. There's a different thought process. It's a different way to look at shit. Okay? Hey, it's more important to have drama and made drama in Dallas than to not have. See, Philly's too boring to be America's team. When in actuality, it is America's team. Hardworking, go to work, do your job, get paid, be rewarded. It's actually America's job and America's team, not Dallas. Like I said last week, that's like the Kardashians. It's not real. Nobody works like that. Get paid for losing. No, get richer for losing. Get richer for having losing quarters. Nobody. That's why when you watch the Cowboys, you're like this. How in the world does that thing continue to grow at the rate it grows at 26% in value? You know the Cowboys grow at 26% value every year? Think about that. They grow a quarter in value every year. Most other NFL teams are around 14%. They're almost at 30% growth every year, the Cowboy brand. How is that? Hey, I'm with you. I thought winning mattered. Why would you give a shit if you won a Super Bowl or not if the value of your team goes up 30% every year? Why would you care? Why would I care if it's why he doesn't hire a coach. It's why he doesn't really put football people in charge. It's why he's the face of the franchise, because in theory, Jerry's winning. Jerry's winning. It's like watching WWE. Barbara, Jerry Jones is also like Vince McMahon. He's the greatest promoter of all time. It's almost rigged. How can the Cowboys have a bigger brand than the Eagles in the last 24 years? How can they have a bigger brand? I don't remember the Cowboys in a game that mattered in 24 years outside of that divisional game in Green Bay. Get this. I can single-handedly name you one game in the last 24 years, and they lost it. I don't get it. But I do, because the public speaks to it. You guys buy and tune on Dallas Cowboy games. They infuriate Eagle fans to watch them. You watch Cowboy games. You know you do. You just don't want to admit it. Because you want to see what your divisional opponent and your conference opponent's doing and your rival. They're your big rival. I get it. I'm not saying you're doing anything wrong. But they have fueled all this. The Cowboys are the most watched product in American television. There's nothing that rivals it. 20 of the top shows in TV last year, 18 were Cowboy games. Philip goes, I hate the Cowboys. You hate them, you love them, you watch them. At the end of the day, your emotions have nothing to do with it. Your actions speak louder. And that's what he preys on. That's why Tone goes, this guy just overpays everybody. It's by design. They have brainwashed the American public with smoke and mirrors for the mighty dollar. Bear from Philly? Yeah. They treat us like wrestling fans, the NFL. Hey, you weren't on here yet, Tone, but I had what's his name? The guy who used to run Fox. Yeah, help me out. David Hill. And he started Fox Sports. And Michael Irvin had gotten into some trouble back in the day. And Jerry goes like this, I got to go in there and clean this thing up. And you know what David Hill said to him? Don't you dare touch my Dallas Cowboys. You leave them alone. Jerry looked at him and went, what do you mean? He goes, you don't get it. Everyone loves watching you and that team. Don't touch it. Ben goes, Dan's calling us dumb. I'm dumb too, jackass. Ben, I'm dumb too. I'm dumb too. I watch it. I can't be that smart either. I can't be that smart. Dude, here are the most successful teams of the last 20 years. Patriots, Eagles, Seahawks, Chiefs. Right? It's crazy. All right. I want to reset a little bit of the Ravens game. Let me hear some of your takeaways now from the game. I'd like to hear your take. You heard me, and I'll redo it. And I'll give you some of my takes here, and we'll go a little bit further into it. He also cut his hair too. Tone's big on haircuts today. I got it. Well, I'll tell you what, he may have gotten a little bit lighter in the wallet today with that new Zach Martin deal. No. I'm talking about the Eagle game. Then we'll talk about the NFL. Let's do Eagles. You see McKee getting on his wide receivers. I loved it. Eagle fan. I actually was impressed with him. He needs to start these next 2 weeks. I think he needs to start these next 2 weeks. In my opinion, he needs to start these next 2 weeks if he's going to win that job against Marcus Mariota. Okay? Okay? So, you are right about the linebackers, Dan. You see Zeke. I did see Zeke. It was practice. Mariota sucks. Kind of knew that, didn't we? Dan, you think Eli Ricks makes the team? Hey, let's see another week against Cleveland here. They're practicing. Gary Cobb was at practice, and he came on with us last hour. And we talked a little bit with him about that. He won't beat Marcus unless Marcus completely craps out. Wasn't a good game for him, I'll tell you that. I was impressed with what I saw with McKee. I just saw Dean in pass stretching. He's getting on the field today. Gary said that he was getting on the field today, so we got that firsthand in the last hour. I'm glad he needs the reps. My take is, I realize what you've been saying about Nakobe Dean is correct. If he isn't, what are we doing? I was holding up hopes, not facts. I owe you beer. Loki, I don't know if he can play. I'm not saying, B walk. Morrow looked decent. I think the perfect quote we had was in the first hour about Nakobe. Hey, the Eagles are so confident. I'm paraphrasing it now. The Eagles are so confident. I want to know why they're confident. I just want to see them play. And I think that's fair. I want to see why they're confident because I haven't yet. And personally, I've heard he hasn't had a very good camp. No matter what people are telling you, he hasn't had a good camp. Now, it's not that he hasn't had a good camp because he's not playing well. It's because he hasn't played really any. He just hasn't done anything. Gary even kind of hit around the bushes a bit with us that he's got to get out there and play. Nobody knows what he can do right now. MJ, so you're saying that the Georgia D-line covered for Dean? MJ, how about if I put it this way? Wyatt, Carter, Davis, all them dudes that played in the middle. How about if I say they kept them healthy? Would you take that one? Those giant defensive tackles, would that be okay to say? They kept them healthy? Nobody's saying that. I don't know if he can play. So it's unfair for me to sit here and say that. But what I can say is, one thing that's been consistent the last 2 years with him since he came to Philadelphia, sure guys have been hurt a lot. Doesn't seem like to be able to hold up. Okay? If Dean busts, do you trade for Queen? Ringo looked like a rookie. A lot of them did out there. Our running back room stacks up well against any others in the league. I don't see it that way. I think you have one back there. That's good. I think the rest of them are just dudes. Now, if you think the rest of the running back rooms in the NFL are just dudes, probably so then. If that's where you're thinking, it's not a special group. It's really nothing. It's probably one of your weakest groups on your team. Okay? No, Greg, I think you have to have a lot of confidence, in my opinion, in what Ricks does to play in secondary in the NFL. I think you got to have a wide receiver mentality to play back there a little bit. Okay? Let me go back over a little bit what we said, because we got new people coming in on the last hour of the program here, as we always do. Jalen Carter in limited play. Here's what I would be if I was Tracy Rocker and I was working with him. I would like to see him maybe at end. Let's play around a little bit. Slide him up and down the line of scrimmage. He's very athletic for a big man. Got great feet. I would say this. He's probably the most athletic defensive tackle you have right now. He plays with power. A lot of hip power. And you know what he does too? That's really uncommon for young players. He plays under his pads. He's not looking and he's not playing high. He's not looking around. Remember something when you play defensive tackle. If anyone ever tells you anything about how you play, always remember this. When you're a young player and you're not well coached, what's the one tendency you do when you're young? You play high and you look for the ball. In the NFL, the ball will always take you away from the play. Your keys in front of you will always take you to the play. That's why they run misdirection. They run misdirection because why? Players play high, they follow the ball, and before you know it, you're on a crackback block getting the shit knocked out of you. That's how you get taken out of a game. What you do is you look at your keys in front of you, your splits. Is he sitting back? What's the formation? Is it single backs? No backs? Is it third, second down? Never look for the ball. Never. The key in front of you will take you to the play. Always. Guard down, back inside, guard away, trap block, wham block. After a while, that becomes repetitive to you because you can almost do it in your sleep by splits, by sets, by look. When I see a guard in front of me, give me an influence block with a flat step. First thing I do is look inside. They're trying to come inside because what are they trying me to do? They're trying to get me to follow that guard. And what happens is that tackle will wham block me down, hit me here, wash me out, and there's a gap up the middle in the A-hole. And the A-hole, I like it. So what you do is you anchor down, you turn inside, and you're waiting for it, and you create a pile. That's how, and and the place coming to you. Okay. I do, Ronald. I do. I do think they do a nice job in there. I think Tracy coaches them well. I played with Tracy. I think he coaches them well. You could see. And what they do is they do a little cheating on the 3 technique. They'll slide over to a head up. Tracy's trying to teach him a little bit of cheating in there too. You don't want to get too crazy in there because really good offensive lines like the Ravens, they got a good old line. They didn't play a lot of their frontline guys. But Jalen Carter showed explosiveness. And you see why he gets up the field and makes tackles for losses. He's good. He does a nice job in there. And the a-hole, I know. Tracy does a good job. He does. I'm not going to talk about Dean anymore. We've already done it. Let's see what he can do. I want to see him and what people say about him in the controlled scrimmages. And remember this. Just remember, when you're listening to WIP or anybody that's out there, temper what they're saying until you see it yourself. Because the media is going to remember, our media today, it's all about accessibility and it's all about likability. They're going to do is, if you notice when Gary was on with me, and I'm not saying anything that he shouldn't do. I even protected him. That's why someone goes like this about Penny. Ask him about the injury. I'm not going to ask anybody about an injury to ruin their media badge. That's not, I can't put that person in that position to do that. So what you're doing is, if you're asking someone to go crazy on a player or what have you, and he's at the NovaCare Center, that guy could be escorted out of the building. And they're not trying to do that. Gary's somebody that we rely on each week to talk about the Eagles because he has accessibility to them. So, I mean, but he even said it. Dean has to play. That's right, Yale. And then get this. Yeah, once it's reported, then we'll comment on it. Okay? Danny, do you know, cuz he's delusional with all the local teams. There's I was pretty, I'll tell you this. Many of you have said this to me about Nicholas Morrow. I don't know about you, Tone, but I thought the kid played well. I didn't think he sucked. He made plays. He did a nice job engaging, got off blocks. He was okay, man. Like, if he continues to play like that, he'll make the team. It could probably start. He was like Ronald said, he was solid. Ben, I thought Matt Patricia had a massive influence on the football team, especially in the secondary. I don't know what you were talking about. Who do you think coached that secondary up like that? I think that's a lot of Patricia back there. Let's talk about that. I think the secondary, like everyone said today, I think the keys you take away from it was Sidney Brown. You got to figure out how to way to make him have a spot on that team where you're giving him packages where you design situations where you could bring him in, like blitzing and shit like that. Hey, I'll tell you what, maybe blitz him out of the linebacker's position. You got to be creative like they were with Hugh Douglas back in the day with Jim Johnson. You got to figure out how to use that kid. That kid can play. He's a good football player. And I like the way he ran around. I mean, running through tackles, looked like a rookie at times. And you're going to see him he'll get beat this year. And you'll be disappointed. But he's going to turn around and make 5 great ones for you. So you're going to have to just learn with the bumps and bruises of being a young football player. He can play, man. He's good. That was encouraging, watching him play. Rashad Penny, again, he's a good player. He's not great. He's not going to do anything special for you. And the key will be this. He'll kind of tease you a little bit, and he'll never be healthy. So we have to, hey, it's not really if he's good or not. This conversation about Rashad Penny playing for you has nothing to do with being good. How you play him, where you play him, if you play him. It has nothing to do with it. It's if he'll play and his health. There's no evaluation on Rashad Penny. Is he good? That's not part of the comments because we're beyond that now. It's 5 years. He started 2 games a year. We're beyond this. It's not a conversation any longer. Rashad Penny will. Is he good? Can he play? Where does he fit? He doesn't fit in. He'll never fit into the Eagle offense. He'll be a component that you can maybe use occasionally. You can't rely on people that haven't been relied on in half a decade. Half a decade he's been in this league, and the Seahawks couldn't rely on him 1 year, ever. And it's not a rip. It's what he is. Okay? It's not if he's good. The reason he's on the team is because he is good. Do you know how great you – hey, think about this, Tone. Do you know how freaking great you have to be on the team that you only started 2 games a year? Do you know how good you have to be? You have to be an exceptional ball player for someone who never plays. This guy, every time he's healthy, man, 6 yards a pop. It's the only reason he's on the team. William goes, is Ricks for real? Well, the only way we find out if Ricks is for real is if he keeps doing it. So start him. Play him out there more. Get him out there. Play him out there. Remember, just because you see a guy do something one time, that doesn't make him a starter. Consistency is starting. I'd rather have consistent ball players than guys that make flash plays. Flash plays, hey, who do you think is a better defensive back? Diggs in Dallas or Bradbury in Philly? Who'd you rather have on your defense? Who would you guys rather have? Who would you rather have on your defense? Diggs, Dallas, or Bradbury, Eagles, in your secondary? I'll take Bradbury all day. Consistent every week. Doesn't get beat on high-low. Very rarely do you see plus 25 wins against him. He'd rather get beat. Here, do you know why he's so good? Bradbury has the perfect philosophy to play corner in this league. He'd rather get beat on a 10-yard in than a 25-yard post. That's the way it is. That's today's NFL. He'll give up a 10-yard under or a 10-yard turn-in route, or a wheel route. But he ain't getting beat on plus 25. Ramsey, Diggs, all them dudes get beat on them plays. Those are game changers. When you put a list together of the goals you have, every year you have like a bunch of games where you put up, don't get beat 3 times or 4 times on plus 25 plays. Nothing about wheel routes, underneath. Just don't get beat deep. And he does a really great job of that. Okay? Does a nice job of pushing people out of bounds, limiting the space that they have going up the sidelines. He's great when they come across his face. He's a good football player. The Giants, boy, I'll tell you something. The Giants and the Cowboys in this past 2 years, I can't believe how bad of personnel decisions they make. Why would you let a corner like that out the building for $4 million? That just doesn't make sense to me. You let James Bradbury out the building because you didn't want to pay him $4 million more? Man, I don't get it. I don't get it. Because ever since he's been in Philly, he's been good. He's a good football player. Greg, I'm with you. I mean, Dave Gettleman, for him to let that guy walk out the building for $4 million, man, it just doesn't make sense. Dude, you don't let premium positions walk out your building like that. Hey, that's why the guy in Tennessee got fired for A.J. Brown. And that guy who was the general manager in Peterson, who was a GM in Tennessee, he was a good GM. That guy had a winning record. Put the Titans in the AFC title game. Lost AJ? I think that cost him his gig. I've said all I'm going to say on Jordan Davis. I don't want to keep hammering the point. Diggs and Ramsey are gamblers because they're looking for the picks. Yeah, because that's where they make their money. Bradbury makes his money being a shutdown corner. I don't think those guys are shutdown corners. I do not think that Jalen Ramsey and Diggs are shutdown corners. I do not. I think they give up too many big plays. I just think they give up too many. Bradbury, can you guys remember a big giant play that Bradbury gave up since he's been in Philly? You guys remember any big plays? Super Bowl, maybe? They were doing all kinds of weird shit in the Super Bowl by passing off, holding in the Super Bowl. Yeah, okay. Nolan Smith, holding call on Juju. Yeah, okay. Holding call on Juju. That hurt. That was right up there with the special teams play, the Quez drop, and the scoop and score. Probably so. Those were some of the plays, and those are plays you can't make in a combination like that and beat Kansas City. You can't have those kind of plays to beat Kansas City. Okay? Hey, you bring up CeeDee Lamb. Let me go back before I get to Nolan Smith here. Tone goes like this. What was that? What was that comment you put out there about Jerry? They did right by Martin, but Sills, doesn't it just seem that Jerry Jones doesn't have control over his wallet? How much did you pay CeeDee Lamb this coming off season? How much did you pay him? Would you put him in the same money bracket as A.J. Brown and DK Metcalf and Devontae Adams and Cooper Kupp? Would you pay him that much money? Would you pay him that much money? When I look at CeeDee Lamb, here's who I see. Is he better than Mike Evans? Would I rather have Mike Evans or CeeDee Lamb? I mean, I think that's a no-brainer. You think he's better than Godwin? Chris Godwin? I mean, hey, he'd be the number 3 guy in Philly. So that to me tells you all you need to know for me to pay $25 million. He'd be the 3 guy in Philly. Am I right? CeeDee Lamb would be he'd be in Quez's role in Philly, right? Well, if I'm going to pay a guy $25 million, he better be able to start on every freaking team. I get maybe not Minnesota. I get the Raiders. But you better be able to start on 99% of the football teams for me to pay you $25 million. I mean, and to say that you'd be the best number 1 on the Cardinals? Okay. Is CeeDee Lamb better than DeAndre Hopkins? I don't know. A healthy Hopkins? I don't know. A.J. Brown is not that wide receiver anymore. He's 26 years old. I mean, you're making it sound like this guy's 36. Lamb's a little better than Juju? No. I mean, okay, how about this? That DJ Moore guy in Chicago, who would you rather have, CeeDee Lamb or DJ Moore? Who would you pay money to? DJ Moore? The kid in Chicago who was in Carolina? Or CeeDee Lamb? I'd see this goes to Tone's point about overpaying. He's not better than DJ Moore, is he? You think CeeDee Lamb's better than DJ Moore? I like the same guy. They're kind of like the same dude to me. Right? Smitty has better hands, but better routes and have bigger games. Nolan Smith. Got to figure out how to use him. And you also got to figure out how to coach him. Very chaotic. It looked, his head was on a swivel. You saw it. He didn't know. And to me, I don't really think he picked up formations very well. I think he got confused a little bit in formations. And you saw him moving around a lot. Okay. Now, he was moving around a lot, in my opinion, because I don't think he knew where his technique was. And that's just being young. Okay. But he is totally a project. Now, Hassan Reddick has been kind of a project. The Eagles figured that out and how to coach him. Okay? And you need to sit behind Reddick. You need to follow Reddick. You need to do every single thing that Hassan Reddick does. Okay? Because you got to figure out how you're going to be able to use the kid. And I thought, again, they put him in action, which was good. They put him out there. He got his feet wet a little bit. But for me, he still needed a little bit more guardrails. And then you expand it a little bit. I think he's looking the game through binoculars right now. And you got to be able to see, you have to get those blinders on right now. And he sees the game like this. And when you see the game like this, it's hard playing the game like that when you're seeing the game only with what's in front of you. Okay. All right. I want to talk a little bit about the NFL games. A little bit more. We'll recap that as well. Hit the like button. Keep it here on the National Football Show.